afternoon, everyone. My name is Annabelle, and together with my partner Benjamin, we are very humbled to be here and be able to once again present to you our work, a redevelopment project of our studio entitled Sunken but Unsinkable. Our project is focused on conserving and reviving the ruined shrine of Our Lady of Lourdes of Cabetican for quite a special community in Pampanga, Philippines. We were invited by an organization and a member of the community to visit the shrine and see whether we were interested to help with the redevelopment. Built in the early 80s, it currently has an estimated number of 20,000 devotees, 8,000 of which are part of the active community and the rest are all loyal visitors. These are some photos that were shared with us by the head of community in the year 91 prior to the historical adversity. If you look at the upper left image, where there is a statue of the Virgin Mary, the current grade line now is already until the bottom of the white banner. The shrine is located in the small town of Bacolor, Pampanga, which is situated in a fairly flat land nearly on the center of the Philippines. Bacolor is sitting just below the foot of the mountains of Pampanga. One of the largest mountains sitting beside the town called Mount Pinatubo, however, happens to be a majestic sleeping volcano. This is the crater of Mount Pinatubo. It is a popular tourist site where visitors are allowed to swim and trek along its slope. It is beautiful, but in 1991, after 400 years, the sleeping mountain began to rumble and the ground started shaking everyone around it. Then the inevitable happened, the second largest volcanic eruption recorded in history. Day became night, keeping the skies dark for days. Communities have been evacuated to safer ground, yet the devastation was immense. The blast's volcanic discharge reached hundreds of kilometers and left towns within its perimeter covered in thick ash. There was zero visibility and hardly have clean air to breathe. From the eruption, it went on for the next 4 years with consecutive strong rains and storms, landslides that continuously channeled the ashes from the mountains into the towns, that became rivers of thick mud that painstakingly settled through time. At this point, people knew that it was never going to be the same. These are the photos of some churches and the shrine included at the lower right after the eruption. Here is a photo of a mural done by local artists in the Museum of History, which for us depicts a strong sense of how they felt after the experience. This is a steel blanket in ash color showing faces of agony. These are some photos during our first ocular. As we entered the sunken interior space, we were absolutely awed of its beauty, order, and grandeur. There was a high chance for the structure to be revived, re-celebrated, and to resurface. The amplified horizontality and expansiveness of the temple engenders feelings of calm, serenity, and stability. Unfortunately today, with just little rain, it is already flooded and totally unusable. Mount Pinatubo's fury may have severely altered aspects of the shrine, but the changes are not incongruous and may even be more in keeping with its raw and unpretentious architecture. Using our team as a scale, one must crouch to be able to enter the low openings, and the low lighting all contribute to the cavern-like atmosphere that is no less daunting than before, has become much more humble and intimate. These are images we borrowed from the community members, and one can easily witness the community's devotion. To make it functional, the people dug as much as they can and got out a large volume of mud to clear some headroom along its perimeter and allow them to enter the dark space.
Now we would like to present to you our design. Our primary goal is to create awareness in response to the rapid disappearance of some of the most important buildings in the country. This diagram shows the existing condition of the site. The transitional church is situated on the left, where masses are held. In keeping things relevant, we simply flatten the structure to give importance to the main shrine, avoiding any unnecessary noises. We provided a large underground water storage in the center, calculated to store almost twice the amount of maximum flooding inside the site premises. To give it our full respect, we never considered doing any alteration to this wonderful ruin. Rather, we had to make sure that everything that surrounds it contributes to the overall experience of the community. The gray shade shows the floating walkways of the main public square entry and leads people through a processional approach to the shrine. The red shade shows these steps and seatings area along the edges and corners to allow public events. The green band shows the most important feature, which is the flood wall we integrated. It is designed to keep out water to the entire 5,000 square meter area, yet integrated with natural vegetation as berm. This shows the circulation from the front entry along the road. It goes directly to the central square, which allows people to freely use the perimeter for recreation. Yet the approach to the shrine is through the reflection pool. The water collection system is designed hidden under the pool. It is capable of draining about 2.4 million gallons of water during the worst monsoon seasons. It will be pumped out once the water levels subside. This is an outline where we plan to locate locally sourced lahar sand, volcanic boulders, and raw vegetation. Since the lahar settled during turning greens and rivers into bright, hot, sandy surfaces, converting our roofs into roof gardens will then help decrease the deflection of unwanted sun rays and in turn minimizes heat, a contribution to the reduction of heat island effect in the neighboring residential area. Then this is the diagram of the designed new site. Our team's approach since day one was design in presence and in absence. Creating a flood wall that doesn't look like a barrier was crucial to the daily view of the town. We expect a variation of flowers blooming in various seasons. This is a view of the ramp showing the main shrine as the focal point. Upon entry to the main grounds, there is a public square for the community to hold events or just enjoy a Sunday with families and friends. This space is designed for them. In approaching the shrine, fine modular stainless steel gratings were used for the steps and walkways. There is a reflection pool that will lead you to the entrance of the main building. The body of water is also designed for the children and the people who previously had a similar but smaller feature where they used to play. This is a site section. We introduce a long alley that gives a sense of calmness and a moment of reflection as you walk. The walkways are designed to allow one to feel like walking along the history of the site, while allowing raw landscape to crawl and penetrate from underneath. There was a deliberate use of non-influential architectural forms to show importance to the ruin in its natural landscape. It is sort of a gesture of architecture stepping back and to give way for nature. This is a diagram of the composition of the walkway. And this is a site section. This view is the final turn upon approaching the shrine. It reveals the facade, the original position of the statue, but then already floating above the water. The small opening on the right is the entrance of the building. Since we have a limited budget, we decided to use the simplest of materials. We plan to get them within a radius of a few kilometers. The cement requirements will come from Porac, a nearby town, one of the largest cement factory using lahar sand. Also, the wall finishes are in lava stone that came directly from the volcano itself. We believe in restoring such a building can somewhat restore the faith of the community. Since we knew that the people have been used to entering the shrine through these very low openings, we decided to keep that powerful yet humbling gesture in entering a sacred space. We kept the opening to only about 8 feet. And once one has entered, an interesting reveal of the volume will be experienced. The same materials will be used for the internal space as the main platform and also for the benches. Again, raw landscape were placed underneath the people to enhance its history. Such strong memories can never be erased nor forgotten. These are suspended mirror reflectors that can allow natural sunlight to disperse from the skylight above. And at night, these 722 hanging lights will glow in remembrance of the 722 souls who perished. The light, which are focused mainly on the landscape below, is an opportunity for one to reflect peacefully without any distraction and allow one to experience the raw textures and real history that we brought back into the internal space. In this final image, we show our vision of the community celebrating the space again. Though the Anthropocene is marking the moment of humans having power over nature, this approach is to remind everyone that relationship between man and nature can reciprocate in perfect harmony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask bringing the nature inside, are those rocks and boulders there, or are you bringing them in? And the second question is the light, the floating, is that device implemented by you, or is it part of the existing building?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, these boulders are actually very natural to the site, especially within the town of Pampanga, which is actually sitting below the volcano. So these boulders are scattered, and actually they ate all the water streams and rivers around the area. So before, these green landscapes and waters is now became actually a desert of sand. So what we're doing is we're just gonna bring everything there. The actual condition of the site is actually sort of a higher flat slab, which is about this level.
Ah, so you're digging
So
out.
yeah, we're gonna dig it, but not completely. So we're just gonna make it work so that there's sort of an inlet of cool air, and actually the people can go through about 8 feet high. And these lights are not there. If you've seen the photo earlier, the structure is actually completely bare. There was actually not too much funds from the government to revive it, and there's no tractor that can actually go inside there to dig it. So it was dug manually, just to make it reusable during dry seasons only.
Paul.
Well, I think everybody's enormously moved. I'm thinking of Godfrey Burm's church in Neviges, where light is controlled so tightly and is therefore so powerful. You say it's a shrine. Can you help a little bit with its program and use? Will there ever be services there? Is one question. So how would it be used other than for contemplation? And the other thing, I just invite you to talk more about light, because I just love hearing you talk about it.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. This project is actually for the community. It's actually built by the community and was funded by the community. At first, in 1981, this building was actually donated by one single person, a private person. So to the community, he lives there, but unfortunately, he passed away already. So, but we have a lot of donors who are very interested in doing this. Yet, our idea is actually, there are 20,000 or 25,000 devotees here, and you can see about there are like 3 feasts every year, and people really flock. It's like an entire, we call it a fiesta. Everyone is really there, inside, outside, playing. But the problem is, in this area, in actually the entire Philippines, we don't have too much parks like in Europe or in some parts of Southeast Asia. So what actually doing is actually converting this very flooded site, and all our budget will actually go to the membrane that actually keeps water out, and just making everything work. So this can be their space, a community space in a public square, however they want to use it. There's no particular religion that is actually allowed inside. Anyone can use it. And the light actually inside, we're very big fans of James Turrell. So when we went inside, there's sort of adjustment to one's pupils every time you go inside. Give it maybe like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and you can actually adjust. So what happened here is this is a very passive house design, not too much electricity. The lights are actually LED diodes, but nevertheless, they are reflecting mirrors. And we have a natural skylight above. And our working drawings is actually levitated, and we have very silent turbo jet fans that actually sucks in the cool air from this pool of water, so it creates that stack effect. But in the same way, that light is actually just to reflect that sunlight coming from the skylight, but in turn at night, it glows into like an amber color, very soft, so that it's really not a chandelier. It's really like a presence of whatever you think. It can be souls, it can be angels, it can be stars, whatever you like.
Thank you. Christy.
Thank you very much. I mean, very beautiful presentation, and
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the fact that your attitude towards, this, quite important monument is one of restraint. I think that's actually quite unusual, that, you actually approach the issue of design with, I think, a respect, but also sort of an idea that you're not going to intervene too much. However, one of the things that interests me is not just the chapel itself, but the public areas outside. And you've got actually quite a large amount of public space where people can sit and activities can take place. But having been a frequent visitor to the Far East, I'm always struck by how incredibly hot it is and how little shade there is. And I just wondered whether you had any plans for vegetation, because most of your renderings look as if it's going to be very, very hot.
A very good point.
Yeah.
Actually, we're actually, all of our projects, our mission is actually to cool down all the areas. That's why we implemented that lowering of the heat island effect in the area. But rather, actually, our idea is actually to have these trees there. Since this is still a concept, when we send it last September, it's more updated with a lot of I call it acacia trees that are actually grows into like a 10-meter diameter.
It's a local canopy tree.
Yes.
It's endemic in the Philippines.
But at first, because this is actually already a negotiation between the community, and at the first, actually, before sending this, is we wanted to show the community first that we empower, and actually the Philippines, that we empower old buildings, and the emphasis here is not to do anything about it, about the building, but rather to give it the glory that it needs to have. So putting in our perspective, at least, to putting the trees now will actually ruin all the vistas. But we assure you, if you look at it next time in the Philippines, it will have a lot of canopy trees and foliages around it.
Thank you. I was very struck by the first part of your presentation, showing the buried buildings and the whole, and how the sort of community recovered from its trauma. And I think your approach is admirable, to sort of keep it as it was and not to try and, excavate it. I just it sort of had built my hopes up when you were, and then you sort of showed your renderings, and I just thought, I hope it doesn't, it's more of a comment than a question in that kind of dreadful, I kind of hope it doesn't become too kind of Peter Zumtherized, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Too kind of tasteful, too,
I know.
very
understand.
sleek, very precise,
We
because I think it's good to sort of stand back and intervene minimally, but Catholic tradition is a riot, if you think about it. If you go to any Catholic church, there's stuff all over the place. And I hope it wouldn't, it's maybe a kind of function of the renders, but just to kind of keep it on the right side, that's sort of true to its, because it's come through so much, you just don't want it to kind of end up looking like a kind of hotel lobby.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it won't in your
Yeah.
hands, but
Yeah.
just...
Actually, I'll just add to that. That's a very good idea. Actually, all of our project in the Philippines, we don't want to make it look new, or actually we call it a manicured. We don't like, especially in the raw vegetation, we want the vegetation to go through the stainless steel steps.
Okay.
So like you're walking into the history. Yet also the lava rocks that we're using, that's very, they're abundant in the area. When you use I'm sure you've used lava rocks before, they're pretty sandy. So technically, if you hold them while you're walking, eventually over like 20 years or for 3 decades, some parts will fall off. And we're actually happy with that, because actually it will catch up to the ruin eventually. Maybe the stainless steel will be kept as is, but the rest will actually age well, hopefully.
This passage of time is clearly important, because it's kind of evolved through the...
I
Yes,
think
very
your
nice.
point is more about the interior and that quality, that it's sort of half a monument and half living and used. It's the inside and keeping that quality that you've got in those renderings.
But anyway, thank you very much for
Okay.
sharing it with us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think so.